Good day YouTube, Niagara Gunfighter here with the Lee Loadmaster and some tips and tricks. Tip number one that I want to show you is adding a primer failure warning light. Here, I used a red light from an RC car lighting kit. You need to drill a hole in the carrier under station number 3. We coupled this with tip number 2, a carrier light mounted on the press. I recommend you purchase a commercial one from Amazon or other retailers for around $30. Here's a few looks at how well it works and how it looks both on and off. This red light contrasts nicely with the white carrier lights. Let's look at what you will see with an unprimed case. Here's a .40 caliber case with no primer. I'll slip it in manually and you can see that it creates a nice red glow inside the case prior to charging it with gunpowder at Station 3. The warning light can be seen from both sides of the press, and while it does not show as well on camera, the user can clearly see a red glow inside the case with the carrier light still on. When reloading, if I'm unsure, I can quickly turn off the carrier light to see if the warning light is present. Here's a better look at where I drilled the hole. The goal is to have the light point directly up into the opening of Station 3 on the shell plate. Tip number 3, add an extended spill plate. Please see my other video on how to fabricate one. It's easy. Next, the production level of this machine can be drastically increased by adding the Hornaday bullet feeder kit and die. Here you can see I added a homemade piece of tin to help steer the projectiles. Once set up and properly adjusted, this machine will drop bullets correctly about 99% of the time. Note, the Hornaday bullet kit works much better with a large load of projectiles in the hopper, not a small load as shown in this part of the video. Tip number 5, I recommend you choose dies wisely. Here, I've gone with the Lee carbide undersizing die, a universal neck expanding die, and an auto drum powder measure that's case activated. Then the Hornaday bullet feed die, and finally, I seat on this press with a standard seating die. Next, you'll need to make sure your carrier is adjusted correctly. On the primer feeding side, you can see these little ridges that help the primer feeder function correctly. It should gently click across them as the ram goes up and down. On the other side, the timing is regulated here. Same thing, it should slide without binding. Note, the carrier is adjusted by the bolt that travels through the ram to the top of the shell plate. Make sure your carrier is evenly centered on top of the ram. It is adjusted by loosening the wheel nut on the top and the bolt on the bottom. Then you will adjust the angle of the carrier in line with the frame as shown here. If you purchase only one add-on to this press, make it the Lee Progressive Case Collator. This thing is money for $13. The secret? Shake the collator with one hand while you drop cases with the other. This will eliminate upside down cases. I've found about 1 or 2 upside down cases out of 500 while reloading. Make sure you drop the cases near the edge of the collator, not directly onto the feed holes. I like the updated primer hopper and have experienced no problems with it. It's cheap, effective, and simple to use. While you can use the locking mechanism, I'm old school and still like to block the trough with a pick. Today, I'm loading .40 caliber with accurate number 7. I'm very happy with the performance of this powder at the range, but it is messy on the reloading bench. Here is a good look at how the light does not show through a case with a properly seated primer. I recommend you go slow for the first few rounds. However, once set up correctly and with all the consumables properly staged, I have loaded 500 rounds in 1 hour with this machine. It can be very fast with 45 auto. I like to keep a piece of flexible but stiff cord handy for the bullet die. If the die fails to drop a projectile, I simply push the projectiles backwards up through the die so the die fingers reset. It will happen maybe 5 times in a run of 500 rounds. It appears that my flare die needs to be adjusted. As you can see, some of the projectiles are tipping over as the shell plate carrier cycles. No big deal. Please like my video and follow my channel, Niagara Gunfighter on YouTube, and happy shooting.